Hey everybody, welcome in. Jerez Jesse Montano here in Ball Arena after Game 4. The Avalanche dropped this one 5-1 and go down in the series 3-1. Jesse, what do we talk about in this one? I mean, there's obviously a lot of distractions, a lot of non-hockey related things going on today. Do you want to get into the game, or do you want to get into the non-hockey things here?
It was your big sigh that made me laugh, because really this whole day, I was laughing about it with a couple folks. Like, how many people did you greet today with, what the hell, man? Like, it was just, it felt terrible showing up to the rink for this, knowing what happened. I guess let's unpack the game a little bit, because I really don't think there was much to say. The Avs were awful. Let's unpack the game a bit, because I think what we want to talk about, what people want to hear about, is Val, and kind of the situation with him and what it all means. But for me, JJ, like Andrew Cogliano, I thought said it best in the locker room. He said, look, no one feels sorry for him. The Avs, the players that were in the game, yes, you had no Devon Taves. Yes, you had no Val Nichushkin. Those are real things. Those are real things you have to overcome. The 20 guys that played in this game tonight, and I say 20 because I'm not including Alexander Georgiev, were outright bad. Not even not good enough. There was no energy. They did not look like a team that was desperate, back against the wall, trying to avoid going down 3-1. Jared Bednar said they're not going to use the Val Nichushkin and the Devon Taves stuff as an excuse. But again, I'm not saying it's an excuse. It clearly affected them. They did not look ready to start this game.
Yeah, I mean, you can't unpack the game, as you said, without really including the Val Nichushkin situation into it, right? Because even talking to Jonathan Drouin after the game, he had the response of, we're human, we're pros, right? He tried to cover that up.
Yep.
And that's kind of the response you saw. I think you really saw the Avalanche affected by this. As much as they don't want to use it as an excuse, in this situation, it's impossible. It's impossible to have to not have flashbacks to last season. It's impossible to think that your team is taking out some big players and suddenly getting better against a team that they've been struggling with all series here. And this game really had one of two directions it was going to go. One, the Avalanche rally. You see the Avalanche really, get together and fight and maybe dig deep and score a bunch of goals, or they kind of lay down and get a beatdown, and it was the latter that was the situation. And again, I think it's the human element coming to play, and you can't really mess with psychology or beat it, I guess.
And comment just came into the chat, said it's Groundhog's Day, and that, I think, to me was the gut punch for the Avs, right? Look, I didn't pull it up in time, but Corey Masisak from the Denver Post, go check out his Twitter. He spoke with Jack Johnson after the game. I think he was probably the only one that spoke with Jack Johnson. And look, like, we didn't hear any, like, hey, that's our guy, we're in there for him. No, nobody said anything necessarily bad about him, the folks that we talked to. Like, they mentioned it's tough. We're trying to figure it out. Jack Johnson came right out and said he made his decisions. That's all I'm going to say. He made his decisions, I believe, is the exact quote. Like I said, Corey Masisak from the Denver Post has that quote tweeted out. You just won't be able to convince me that you leave morning skate and you think you are getting Jonathan Drouin as a plus back into the lineup from what played 2 nights ago. A game that Jared Bednar and Nathan MacKinnon have kind of doubled down on, saying we liked the way that we played. We struggled with our execution, but if we can repeat that, we're going to be in good shape. So that's how every player shows back up to the rink. And then we just found out from Jared Bednar that it was when the players returned to the rink. That was when Jared Bednar got everyone together and broke the news. And so suddenly you go from a big boost getting Jonathan Drouin back to, not only do you lose Devon Taves to illness, stuff happens. This Val Nichushkin thing stretches so far beyond this game and this series that, again, it's not an excuse to me. It clearly affected them, and it put them in a situation where they weren't mentally sharp. They weren't ready to start that game. And if not for Alexander Georgiev, it's probably 4 or 5-0 after the first period. And we're having a very different conversation right now.
Yeah, once again, I want to give a little bit of credit to the Stars, because I still think they came game planned and ready to go for this game. A lot of weight was on Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar tonight. I saw Dallas Stars really shut those two guys down. They had a hard time getting shots off until the third, once the Stars kind of backed off a little bit. Both those guys kind of really tallied some shots, but I think going into the third, they had a combined 1 shot. I think they ended with 4 from Nathan McKinnon and 2 from Cale Makar, so they got a little bit going in the third. But I want to say that to say I'm not sure. Obviously, Val Nichushkin brings a great presence, brings a huge element to this team. But I still think the Stars were ready to outplay the Avalanche. I don't think Val Nichushkin's presence really catapults them to a victory here. I think the Stars kind of were ready to play tonight.
I will definitely agree with that. Like the one thing that I will even go as far to say has surprised me in these last couple of games. This is an Avs team that we've seen, and like truly, it's part of what makes me anxious to see what they come up with here on Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day it is. Like this has always been a team that like we've actually even seen it. You and I were joking, like at times where it's like, guys, just tap. Like you can't keep going in these playoffs, and they scratch and claw and find a way to fight. And that to me was, I thought, the part that was missing tonight, and portions of last game where it just looked like the Stars were able to take their play to another level. And I also think that there's a high likelihood that the Dallas Stars saw the news, knew that there was going to be turmoil on the other side, and I bet you the game plan was all over them right as the puck drops. They're not going to be ready to start. We have to be ready to start, and I'm with you. As much as I thought the Avs struggled in several areas tonight, give the Dallas Stars a lot of credit. They, again, have played a really strong game.
Yeah. Not to say that the Avalanche get a pass here. I think there were several moments in that game where there was very little effort exuded. The first period in its entirety comes to mind. I think Dallas scored on a power play there. Somebody, who was it, that lost their stick at the top of the penalty kill there, and it just looked like everybody was gassed and just out of energy to give. And that's kind of what Jared Bednar said in his post-game presser was, we look like the exhausted team. They look like the team with fresh legs, and it should be flipped, especially when you're at home.
Yeah, 100%. You know, we talked so much, JJ, about when this series shifted back here of, you know, Dallas had talked about after game 1, they were tired, they were struggling to find their legs, and we were saying, man, there's no breaks in the series, and you're about to head to altitude, advantage Avs. It felt disappointing to come up short a couple nights ago because it felt like the Avs did a lot of good things. This was just a night where, and you could really even tell in Jared Bednar's tone, like, I think everyone's having a hard time making sense of what we just saw from the Colorado Avalanche in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm with you. If that was the effort that they would have given, even with Val in the lineup, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't have made a difference. They got kind of ran out of the building tonight. 5-1 with 2 empty netters. Maybe makes the score, look worse than what it actually tallied. And I mostly mean that in regards to Alexander Georgiev. Like, he was great. He was great again tonight.
Yeah, but keep in mind they had Val Nichushkin in the lineup last game and lost 4-1. So 9-2 in 2 games at home. I don't think Val Nichushkin makes that big of a difference to prevent something like that. But back to Jared Bednar's post-game press conference. I think we heard a few interesting things. Let's get to the clip first, and then we'll get a little bit into.
I was going to say, so we're going to let's shift. Do you have anything else on this game, or are you good for the game?
No, yeah. Let's get more into Val.
Yeah, so let's talk about Val, and shout out to our guy Terry Fry. I thought asked a great question, a blunt question, and it's a question that was on everyone's mind. And Jared Bednar gave a long, very thoughtful answer. So we'll go ahead and roll that right now.
Sorry to belabor this, but we know there's a human element involved here that you look at as important also. Yeah. But how much did Val let down you and this team?
Well, I'm not going to go there. I think, listen, Val obviously is struggling with something, right? I have 2 thoughts. Yeah, it sucks for our team. We got to turn the page. We got to go play way better than we did today. There's still 20-plus guys in that room that care and that want to win and that are here, and that's what we have to focus on. It hurts our team. There's no question. He's a great player. And the second one is, I've gotten to know Val as a person, and I've gotten to know him as one of our teammates and a player, and I want what's best for him. And I want him to be happy, and I want him to be content in his life, whether that's with our team or not with our team. I want the best for him and his family. I think all of our guys are the same, and we hope that he can find some peace and get help. And so that's the other side of it. It's not hockey's not life and death, although we treat it like it is. And so Val's a big priority, and our team's like another one. Now it's separated. They're not together. Like, he's done for 6 months plus, whatever that looks like. And so again, we treat it like an injured player that's not able to play for us, like OC or Landy. I mean, we got to worry about the guys that are on the ice and are able to play for us.
A lot to unpack there. And again, everyone in the locker room with Jared, we were all kind of tiptoeing around it, right? Like we were saying, and Terry just comes right out and asks it. Did he let the team down? And the long pause and a very diplomatic answer. And I thought that was a great answer from Jared Bednar. Made sure to acknowledge, you do have to take a step back for 1 second and say, yes, clearly this is a very sick person, someone who needs help. And, Jared alluded to that. Like, obviously he needs help. And he said, I want to see him at peace and happy, whether it's with this team, with this sport, whatever. That is true.
That tells me that he obviously throughout the year, because he started by saying, I've gotten to know Val a lot. And so that tells me that's something that's come up a lot this year, is his happiness, his mental state. So it's something they've been working through for a long time.
I think it's a great point, and it ties so directly back into abuse, drug abuse. And I shouldn't say drug abuse. We don't have the exact specifics, but that's what's gotten, him in this situation in the past. And so, yes, you do have to acknowledge that, no doubt. But this is a business. This is professional sports. And when you take a step back and look at that scope of it, how could you ever trust him again if you're the Avs? And I don't know the answer to that question. He's obviously a special player. They're obviously a different team with him in the lineup. That's why they rewarded him with the contract that they did, coming out of a Stanley Cup championship that he played a massive role in. And he's done this twice in a row. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm even like throughout the night, JJ, I've been struggling to like find the words. Like 2 years in a row in the playoffs with a third stint sandwiched in between those. This is 3 times in 13 months Val has gone out. Again, that is a sign that, yes, Val Nichushkin, the person, needs help. He needs a lot of help. But Val Nichushkin, the player, like, you are now, forget this series. The Avs can come back and win this series in 7 or get beat 10-0 on Wednesday. That doesn't change the fact that this is now something that you have to deal with going forward. And there's so many different implications, to that. Jared Bednar used the comments or used the phrase that the Avs and Val Nichushkin, for right now, for the next 6 months, he said they're separated. Those are the words that he used. And, he's obviously not at liberty to say, oh, he's out of here. That's not up to him, technically. That's up to management. But the larger layer here is that's also up to the NHL, the NHLPA, the fine wording in Val's contract. I was told right after this game started that right now, this would not be grounds for contract termination. So that means that the only way, again, right now today, things change. The only way out of this is a buyout. And JJ, that's a really ugly buyout. Mm-hmm. The situation that Val Nichushkin has put the team in from a hockey and business perspective, I mean, they're in a tough spot.
Yeah, I think the exact wording is that he violated the terms of his stage 2 probation or whatever it is under. So, I think your point about it being a business is the right one, right? Because not only are you looking at it from a business standpoint, but how long have we been talking about this team's window? Yes. Right. And now suddenly you're putting the legacy of your teammates at jeopardy, the legacy of this run that we've seen over the last several years. To leave your teammates hanging at that point, it has to feel like the other players, as nice as they want to be on camera, behind closed doors, they have to be furious.
Well, and I want to quick shout out to Vaguely Sober here. Always in here, always supporting. Love bringing you the coverage. Thank you guys so much. I'm not optimistic either going forward. And I want to talk about what you just said. Man, last year we went into that room in Seattle and there was a lot of reading between the lines and players were making it very clear. They were pissed. Mm-hmm. Like you said, not just they want to win, not just that they want to keep advancing. It's a lot of what you just talked about. I think of a guy like Zach Parise, came back, signed with the Avs, came out of retirement to get a shot at a Stanley Cup, and to have something like this happen. Jack Johnson, he's a guy getting near the end of his career. Andrew Cogliano getting near the end of his career. And not to mention guys like Nate and Kale and Mikko, who, again, you're talking about the window. They were pissed last year. And I think the comment from Jack Johnson, he made his decisions. I think that says volumes about how the guys feel in that room.
Yeah. I mean, I think that has to be the most disappointing part, is not only does he let down a whole fan base, a whole group of people that were rooting for him, but his teammates and the people that were closest to him, the people that really had his back a lot of times.
Right.
Now he kind of stabbed them in their back.
There's egg on a lot of people's face. Mm-hmm. The Avs have, again, he came back from Russia. The Avs believed in him. He believed in the fit, right? I'm not going to make it sound like they picked him up off the street. Like a puppy. He saw something that made sense. They saw something that makes sense. And I think for the first 2-3 years, it was a great relationship. And I think that's why he's rewarded with the contract that he is. And that's why he stayed in Colorado instead of just going somewhere else. It seemed like it was this is a fit that makes sense. I'm happy here. I'm comfortable here. I've got the support of my teammates. And then, he went through it. And I think as frustrated as the team was in the moment, they all stuck by him. And when he came back, it was hey, you're here. We're with you. Sam Girard goes through what he goes through. And you'd like to think that was maybe inspirational for Val. Hey, it's not just me. Other people are going through stuff. Other people are struggling. A third time.
Yeah, it makes me think what you're just saying, too. When the Avalanche, quote unquote, almost got him off the streets, right? Maybe there was a little bit of a rumor through the NHL that made it hard for him to get an NHL job again. And the Avalanche took a gamble. They rolled the dice and said, hey, let's give this guy a shot. But, I mean, now all you can think about is the future and what lies ahead for the relationship between the Avalanche and Val Nichushkin. Because I think Jared Bednar kind of left it open-ended. Like, it sounds like they'd be willing to accept him back because they love him. They know who he is personally. But I think that's a long conversation that they're going to have to have throughout the offseason is, okay, how do we approach this? Do we want him back? Can we trust him, like you're saying? And yeah, I think it's going to be something that they navigate throughout the entire summer here.
I just saw a comment that flashed through that said, it's like being cheated on for the third time and then being like, well, maybe this time that was the last. Like, there's just no way that you can, if you're the Avs, feel confident that he's going to be there when you need him. And I want to point out, using Jared Bednar's words, this isn't life and death. I know a lot of the times we treat it that way in the media, fans, players, the coaches. It's especially them. They want to win so bad. They're such fierce competitors. It feels like life or death sometimes. It's not. You want to make sure that, Val Nichushkin has a wife. He's got kids. You want to make sure that he's okay. I feel like I need to reiterate that because I'm sure people will say that we're, being insensitive to that. That is all true. That's all true. But again, this is a business. This is a multi-million-dollar business. And he's a player that is paid a lot.
Well, and that's where I was going to go. It's not only a business for the team, it's a business for him too, right? And so now, yes, he has a family. And he may be costing himself millions of dollars by these moves. I mean, it's poor decision-making from a business standpoint on all fronts here.
100%. And then again, just I think I kind of strayed off my point a little bit from everyone stuck by him. I saw the clip going around from earlier this season when Chris McFarland spoke and someone asked him about what's your confidence level that he's going to be able to come back and be on the right track and be healthy and be good. And Chris McFarland said, high. Very high. We know who he is. We understand the content of his character. Jared Bednar has said that at different times. And I think the long pause that Jared took after Terry asked that question was a little bit of that, like, disappointment. The old cliche of, like, Jared Bednar seemed more disappointed than he was mad. Mm-hmm. I think there's players who are probably more mad than they are disappointed. But It's out in the open this time. Everyone knows what happened. Everyone knows the consequence of it. And now Val's got to live with that. Like you said, we're going to see. I don't doubt that the Avs and their management are having conversations with the necessary parties of what are our options. At face value, it sounds like they're not going to be able to terminate it. But this is a breach of his agreement that he made with the Avs, the NHL, and the NHLPA and the player assistance program saying, I'm not going to do these things. I'm going to hit these certain checkpoints, this, that, and the other. And he failed. That's what has led to where we're at now. So I think this part of it now extends beyond he needs help. He's got an addiction problem. I think a lot of people are willing to be very sympathetic to that, even on the business side of it. Hey, here's a guy that got caught up. We're at a point now where, like you said, it's bad business decisions for everybody. And that's why I think so much of Jack Johnson's he made his decisions comment is probably what's going to end up ringing true, because what else can you do? He's gotten all the support from the team, from his teammates, from fans, media. We've left him alone. He hasn't wanted to talk. We've said, no worries, you don't have to. And we still ended up here. It's a tough pillow. It's a tough pill to swallow. I think there was a lot of people, again, getting here, at least for myself, that were just like, I don't know, man. I just don't know.
Yeah, I really feel bad for the Avalanche fan base too, right? Because it seems to be year after year after year that bodies just drop out of lineup, and important bodies at that, right? Jared Bednar's approach of, we're just acting like it's another injured player, and then he starts going up. Landeskog, O'Connor, Devon Taves, now Val Nichushkin. I mean, those are 4 huge players that could make such a pivotal difference in the lineup, and just to continuously have to be dealing with these kind of things and to continuously be, I guess, hurt the most in the playoffs. I mean, you feel for the fan base, you feel for the organization, because, again, this was supposed to be their window of greatness, and it's, for lack of a better term, getting pissed away year after year by just the inability to keep bodies in the lineup for whatever reason.
And then you stack on the fact that you're like, if this is a normal year and it's Landy's back, LOC's in the lineup, you're like, hey, next man up. Someone's got to step up and fill that void, as good as Val was a couple of years ago. Here we go. You're to your point, JJ, like, you're already down so many guys that this just really does feel like such a kick in the pants for the guys that, like, we're in that room, man. Like, we know the dedication level that's in that Avalanche locker room. We know the commitment to playing the right way and doing the right things and taking care of your body. And we've heard that so many times about Val. He's, he's always one of the last ones in the gym, always eating the right things, stuff like that. That, again, there's so many layers of disappointment and just stuff to sift through. I tweeted out when the release came out, I said, this is just shocking on so many different levels, and just such a huge turn of events. He was here this morning, seemed fine. The reports are that he failed a drug test. I had to imagine that when he saw his name pulled for the random, he was like, oh boy.
Yeah, probably that feeling you get when you see cop lights in your rear view.
Yes.
Even if it's not for you, you're still like, oh goodness, is that for me? So while it feels like it's over, it's not. It's only 3-1. There's still a fighting chance for the Avalanche. How much fight do you think this team has left in them?
That was a pissed off room, man. Like, that was an angry, and not only that they got embarrassed on the ice, but like, there's a lot of anger in there. I think they can channel it one of two ways. I think they can go into Dallas and turn in their best performance of the season and give themselves a fighting chance at getting back in the series. Jared Bednar talked about the Rangers-Hurricane series, and that's kind of what's played out over there, is that Carolina fell behind 3-0 in some close games and then have put together 2 of their best games going forward. Andrew Cogliano said after the game, we have nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose. I think they're angry. I think they maybe got one more real good hurrah in them. I didn't see a lot on the ice tonight that inspires that that's what's going to happen. But look, I think it's near impossible for them to get out of this series now. Dallas is just too good, too deep. We knew that you were going to have to go toe-to-toe with the depth, and your top guys were going to have to shine. Dallas has done a good job of containing the Avs, really high-powered offense. and now you lose the key component to your getting to the front of the net and digging pucks out. I think they're still fighting them. These are proud guys, but I don't know how you come out of this series winning 3 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be miraculous. I don't see how your team gets worse, but you suddenly get better, right? So, I mean, I think a little bit of time to process the whole thing and put it behind them might be advantageous for Game 5, but I think it was too fresh tonight. We thought maybe the rallying would persevere, but it wasn't so, and they just weren't able to get it done. I mean, it makes sense. I don't want to cut them excuses. The goal is to win here, but again, from the human level, that is a blow, and a detrimental one at that.
How does it not affect you, right? Like I respect Jared Bednar standing on, we're not using that as an excuse. We have to find a way to get ready to go. I think what you just said is spot on. It was too fresh. It was too fresh tonight. And then on top of that, we haven't even mentioned you lose Devon Taves too. He's sick.
We mentioned it.
Did we?
Couple
Oh,
times.
we're good at this. I just don't know how that doesn't impact you. It doesn't just send your emotions into all kinds of different places, because they were all thinking exactly what we were saying earlier. Like, again, and now again, we're gonna fall short because our roster's not deep enough. Blah blah. Because you made your choices.
Right. Jared Bednar said that the players didn't even find out till they got here for the game, which is usually about 3 hours before puck drop. But imagine that, right? You're rolling in with your coffee, you're pumped. You're like, all right, tonight's the game. We answer back. We're going to go back into Dallas with, a nice 2-2 series here. Wait, excuse me. Val Nichushkin's out?
Who?
Oh,
What?
Are you sure? You said Val, right?
Tonight.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
6 months?
Move on. Oh, Devon Taves is out too? All right, well, let's see what we can do, and that can only take you so far, right?
Right. And again, I really do think that, I think we saw it last year in Seattle. They were upset, but they, willing to chalk it up to this guy needs help. Obviously no players have told us this. Reading the vibe in that room, I don't want to necessarily say they took it personally, but like, there's a lot of guys in there that you just took a lot of opportunity away from. Some of them their last opportunity, and I just think that it's hard to overcome that.
Yep, exactly. So I feel like we've kind of touched on everything we need to touch on. We've gotten our feelings out.
Let me ask you, what if you were the Avs and contract termination isn't an option? How do you handle this? I haven't looked at at a buyout calculator, so I'm not sure what exactly it is, but I mean, he's still got 6 years left on that deal. That's a high price tag. How do you handle it?
I think, man, you're just kind of too heavily invested in this guy, right? Not only that, he brings a huge element to the game. I think they might have no other choice but to try to work through it.
Yeah.
I understand, and I've seen the comments. I've thought about it myself, that you want to say there's no way he can come back. Especially, how do you regain the trust of your teammates? How do you have them forgive you for doing this twice in a row and still have a healthy culture, a healthy locker room?
Yeah.
But it might just be something that everybody has to kind of work through and get over. And if he can somehow figure out a way to get this under control, I mean, he's got 6 months to do it, right? And then he has to apply for reinstatement.
Yep.
So in order to do that, you got to kind of have things squeaky clean, right?
Yeah.
Gary Bettman's kind of a no-nonsense kind of guy. So I think from a financial standpoint, you're kind of stuck in a corner and have to maybe work through it. I mean, there's a reason that there's 4 levels to the program, and he's only at level 3. I mean, if he gets to that 4th one, that might be the straw that breaks the camel's back, but you kind of are left with no choice financially.
And just for the record, that 4th level, 4th stage, it does say clearly in the verbiage that if you hit that 4th stage, there is no guarantee that you will be approved to play in the league, let alone, be on a roster. At that point, the NHL kind of has the right to more or less kick you out. I'm with you though, man. Like, short of Val coming to the Avs and saying, I want to, mutually terminate this and I'm going back home, you might be in a tough spot. And the part that's hard is because, like, you have to look at it as like, okay, well, now the comment that we've got on the screen here. Did he just handcuff the Avs given the salary and given, everything that, it means against the cap and all of that? But like, okay, so you say,
Yes. Yeah.
do you keep him knowing that he's a good player and that if he can get right when his money has to count against your books, you hope that you can put him back into the lineup? But to your point, how do you re-earn the team's trust? You're now at a point where if you say, hey guys, don't worry, I'm going to be good, no one's going to believe you. And you can't buy him out. I imagine you'd have a really hard time finding a trade partner. I don't know. I mean, maybe the Oilers, they seem to take every kind of like reclamation project. But you'd have a hard time finding a trade partner. If you did find a trade partner, you're not getting anything in return. If they're not able to terminate the contract, which I'm not willing to etch in stone yet, but right now that's what I'm being told, you're in a really tough spot. You're in a really tough spot. Even if Val comes back and is a great player again, I think you have really shaken a lot of the relationships in that room. Just plain and simple. And I don't know if it's repairable. This is 2 Stanley Cup playoff runs. Yes, they didn't have the team last year. It wouldn't have mattered. This is 2 playoff runs where your absence may, and we will say, there is still a chance that the Avs could win this series. It's not officially over, right? Dallas Stars still have to win one more game. But there's a high probability that you have played a large role in costing your team the Stanley Cup playoffs 2 years in a row. I don't know how he bounces back from that in the locker room. I don't know how management could ever look at him again and be like, we trust you.
If the Avalanche lose this series with Val Nichushkin in the lineup versus what they're going through right now, how do you look back at this season, this playoff run? I mean, either way, they're going out of the playoffs. Do you really kind of blame this on Nichushkin? The whole.
No, I don't blame the whole thing. I mean, look, like the Avs, like Val Nichushkin was in the lineup in Game 3, and they,
and 1 and 2.
right, and they couldn't break through. They struggled different times. So you can't hang it all on Val. But like, it's a hard question to answer because we'll never know. We never know what happens tonight if Val Nichushkin doesn't allegedly fail a drug test this afternoon after morning skate. So, I don't know. If they don't have that distraction, even without Devon Taves, are they able to muster up the fight tonight? And does Val Nichushkin play a role and continue his goal scoring, the way he has been, the way he was in the playoffs? Like, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's even at 2-2, and you have some momentum. You feel good about your game. Maybe you could have gone on, but we'll never know. I said at the midway point of the season, I felt like if you didn't get to the Western Conference Final, at least it was going to feel like a disappointment. And that's because I felt like Chris McFarland built a winner. I really do. I felt like they went out, and this was, JJ, like you've covered this team for a long time. You've watched them for even longer. Do you remember the last time a GM went out and was this aggressive? They brought in Tomas Tatar. Didn't work. Shipped him out right away. Ryan Johansson wasn't working. Shipped him out right away. Traded a guy like Bowen Byram in season to bring in a young Casey Middlestat. They've replaced Bowen Byram with Sean Walker. They bring in Brandon Duhaime.
Not only that, like I said earlier, like they've been dealing with these problems for years of guys dropping out of the lineup at pivotal times. So they did extra work to bolster that, to say,
Yes.
okay, hey, when we get to the playoffs and bodies start dropping, we have guys to plug in. And even then, even with the preparation, it still isn't enough. So I'm with you. This organization fought hard to build this team the way it is and to provide a little bit of plump when they needed it. And apparently a little more plump is needed.
And not to like go the full cliche, but the Avs, I'm trying to see if it's up anywhere that you can see it here. Their slogan for this playoffs was all in. And in the intro video, in the hype video, they played several clips. Nathan McKinnon saying, it's great to see our management go all in. Chris McFarland and his post-deadline availability saying, we felt the team deserved to have the chips pushed to the middle, to go all in. Jared Bednar, all of our, like, it's been a theme throughout the year. Like, we feel like we have a team that can win even without Gabe. We are going for it. And it's just going to feel like such a disappointment if this had been a knock 'em down, drag it out series and they lose in double overtime of game 7, you're like, hey, that was 2 cup contenders. One of them was going to go out. For right now, it feels like the season has the potential to end on a real thud on Thursday. And man, is that going to be disappointing because of everything that you said, that I said. It felt like they built a contender. It felt like they built a team that could win, especially in a year like this where I didn't feel like any one team separated. I felt like it was very wide open this year. And to have it end in this way, if that is what ends up happening, it is. It's going to be wildly disappointing for me, JJ. You can't win the cup every year. I don't think that's a fair expectation to say you have to win the cup every year. I thought they needed to get to the Western Conference Final. I thought the team that they would be facing in the Western Conference Final was an opponent they should probably beat. This, to me, was a team that I expected to be 3 or 4 rounds deep. And right now, they're going to have to really, really play their asses off. The best hockey they played in probably the last 2 seasons to get there. And they're going to have to do it majorly shorthanded. It's not a good path, man.
And with their confidence just shot right now.
Shot. How do you not feel terrible right now?
Right. I liked our use of words there, plump and thud. Really giving the viewers what they want here.
We bring the thesaurus to these Guerilla Sports post games.
That's all I've got for
man,
tonight.
I think that's all I've got too. We'll have more shows, I'm sure, unpacking a lot of this. Here's the shitty part, man. Like you and I talked about earlier this season of the Avs could have benefited from a quiet summer. And, hey, just go out and take care of your business. And we even talked about, like, Sam Girard is good. Val Nichushkin, you got him back. He's playing the way you want him to play. Seems like he's in a good spot. And here we are. So.
Yeah. Anything but quiet. You and I, being the newer outlet in the media, in the press box, we get the seats at the end, and we often get to sit next to the visiting reporters or national reporters. We got the luxury of sitting next to 2 national reporters. They didn't give 2 shits about this game.
No.
It was all focus and all guns on Val Nichushkin in that situation. So there goes your quiet summer. That's going to be the conversation all summer long, especially from a national standpoint.
Right. Well, and I really do. I think this is going to be a little bit of a, not experiment. What's the word I'm looking for here?
Where's the thesaurus when we need it?
I know, but like a case study. This is going to be a little bit of a case study. What do you do? How do you handle this? I don't remember the last time that we've seen something like this. 6 months. Like, have we properly given like attention to the scope of 6 months? Now, granted, a lot of that's going to be the off season, but like something like this could have easily hit. So there's your next question.
It's at least 6 months too.
That's a great point. It's not guaranteed that he's reinstated immediately in November. But like, what if this had hit 3 months ago and now you're missing the back half of the season and the playoffs? Like, there's so many ramifications here. I think there's going to be a lot to unpack with this. Not just is Val Nichushkin getting better, but what are the Avs options? What are his options? Does he want to stay in the U.S.? I think there's a million different ways this could go, and I don't expect this to be going quietly into the night anytime soon.
Well, we'll be there every step of the way to cover it. Just like Jesse will be in Dallas for you guys for Game 5. We'll see what develops out of there. It's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, gotta give some love to our great friends over at Landmark Lincoln, Broadway and Bellevue in Inglewood. Just an outstanding dealership experience. Everyone there is friendly. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Corsair GT is just beautiful. Go to landmarklincoln.com to see their full inventory. Stop in to see if you qualify for no payments for 90 days. The staff is great. We've done a lot of work with them this year and in the past. The folks over there are fantastic. So as much of a bummer of a night as this is, couldn't do it without our friends at Landmark.
Little retail therapy. What would make you feel better than sitting in a slick ride like that?
Dude, new car smell. And a big shout out to them because they're helping make sure that we can get to Dallas, get you guys all the great coverage out there. So wanted to make sure that we showed them some love before we got out of here.
Cool. And thank you, everybody that joined us. All 1,155 of you, I think, was our peak. So Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. Sorry the news broke the way it did and this game unfolded the way it did. Hey, still one game to go. It's not over till it's over, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's one more game, and like Cog said, it's one game at a time. All you can do is go try to win the next one, and we'll see if we're back here on Friday.
We will. So see you guys. For Jesse, I'm JJ, Guerilla Sports.
Thanks.